Middleton leaves the team. He's had a pretty good year. He joins the Yankees. He's like, I don't want to shave, but I can't wait to fucking shave because this team I'm coming from has no rules. Nothing's lining up. And he said, I mean, some of his quotes, I'll just read a couple. We came in with no rules. I don't know how you police the culture if there are no rules or guidelines to follow because everyone's doing their own thing. Like, how do you say anything about it because there are no rules? Quote, you have rookies sleeping in the bullpen during the game. You have guys missing meetings. You have guys missing pitchers' fielding practices. And there are no consequences for any of this stuff. And we're going to ask Lance Lynn, of course, about all of this. But Kratzy, I mean, he's saying that Keuchel called them out in the past, though, for having no rules and got ripped for it. But saying in the World Baseball Classic, no Lance Lynn and Kendall Graveman crushes the team in spring training. You're missing 2 pitchers, and it's like no one can follow rules anymore, right? And also, he mostly was calling out, besides the sleepers in the bullpen, the position players, too. He spent a whole chunk of his quotes on that as well. To me, this is really going for it right now, which is fine. I mean, clearly, I think it's all true, but he did not leave anything back, and he just left the ball club. What do you think, and what has to happen here? Have you seen anything like this where guys are just doing their own thing in Major League Baseball with no consequences? And we'll talk later about Alex Verdugo being a few hours late, and it's like he's basically gone from the team, and they acted like it was the worst day in Boston history in the last 5 years. And it's like that's called Tuesday in Chicago on the South Side.
There's definitely some drama here, but I think if you can read between lines throughout this entire season, AJ and I have definitely winked and hinted based on our questions to different White Sox players about leadership and all this stuff. And this is really just all coming to a head. It's just the volcano of I don't know. Jesse Rogers must have been standing there with his phone out, just yes, continue. Continue. I can't believe I'm getting all this. But it's something that I love that he's saying this. And I also love the fact that he made the correlation between him shaving. He wasn't just oh, I want to get the heck out of here. Yes, he wanted to get the heck out of there. But he also was I'm okay with some rules, Scott Braun. I'm okay with shaving my face. And maybe this is kind of would you rather play for the White Sox with no rules and let's just do whatever we want to do, bro, and let's just never finish above 500? Or would you rather go to a place that has rules and when you struggle, it wasn't because of something easy that you could fix? And it's not a shave or not shave kind of thing. It's what do rules actually do for a team? And I love that Keynan saw that. And he saw that, he's all right, well, I got a rule I have to follow. That's more rules than I've had to follow under Pedro Grifol and Rick Hahn and whoever else is in charge over there for the entire season, because I'm not going to – and the other thing, too, he's not going to sit there and be he's almost a free agent, so he's a veteran guy. In that bullpen, he's probably one of the more veteran guys with Liam out most of the year. Kendall Graveman's up there too. But if you see other people not getting in trouble for things, you can only so much say something. You can only be all right, yeah, hey, knock it off. Or, hey, you got to make it sure you're here on time. Most of the time, guys are hey, bro, don't be afraid to get here on time as a joke. And then they figure it out or someone else says something to them. But I love that he said all this stuff, but we are spending a lot of time on a team that's a lot of games under 500.
Well, Scott, here's my thing, though. Everything Eric said is true. Okay, so I played for Ozzie Guillen in Chicago, right? I also played for Robin Ventura. Ozzie Guillen only had 2 rules when I was there. Be on time. Be on time. Mm-hmm. 2, you be outside for the national anthem. Those are Ozzie Guillen's 2 rules that he had. And come ready to play. He didn't care what you did off the field. Just when you show up for 7 o'clock, your ass better be ready to play. I don't care if you went out all night and did whatever you wanted to do. Just make sure you were there ready to go at 7 o'clock, which, great. But you also have to have, Eric, and I think you'll agree with this, Ozzie would rip your ass in the newspaper. He wasn't afraid. Ozzie, listen, Ozzie and I love Ozzie. Ozzie and I, we go back and forth. But deep down, he played me, and I respected the hell out of Ozzie. You also have to have some players that'll say something too, Eric. And that's the part that I think Russ was kind of hitting at, we've kind of hinted at. Who was the guy that's going to go to whoever, and the thing was, Middleton or Jesse Rogers, he threw names out there. It wasn't like this was like, oh, anonymous guy was sleeping. They're like, it was this guy, or this guy doesn't show up to work on time. They were like, oh no, it's him, or this guy ain't preparing properly. Oh, it's him. It's Scott Braun. Like, it wasn't like anonymous crap. This was like, hey, you. But he's not there anymore. Lance isn't there anymore, right? Graveman's not there anymore. Giolito's not there anymore. Hendricks hasn't really been around all year. So you also have to have player-led conversations with guys. We had Konerko. We had me, obviously, that people always said, I wasn't afraid to say anything to anybody. We also had Mark Burley, right? Would say something to the pitchers. Konerko would take a guy and take him to lunch and be like, hey, look, you got to be better than this. And they would, okay. Meanwhile, I would just be like, hey, listen, dude, like, I'd yell at him across probably the wrong way to do it. That was just the way I would, We also had Jermaine Dye would say stuff to guys, right? Bobby Jenks, when he was there, would take command of the bullpen and tell guys things. You have to have player-led things. It can't always be on the coaches. And now, Eric, you coach high school team. I help coach we tell the kids all the time. It has to be player-led, because if it constantly comes from the coaches, you tune them out after a while, right? Yep. So there has to be player-led conversations. And that's kind of what I think that we're keep talking about here with the White Sox is, who is the player that's going to – you got to have balls, and you got to not be afraid, and you got to be okay with people not liking you. And that's a hard thing for a lot of guys, because everybody wants to be liked by everybody. But will you have that guy that is strong enough mentally and in their role on the team to go to guys and say, hey, you can't be late? But then also, will the team back up the manager, Pedro Grifol, if you have a Verdugo situation where he's late and Alex Cora's like, guess what? You ain't playing. And I'm calling your ass out in the paper. And I'm making you feel like shit because it's the worst day in Red Sox history or whatever he said, right? Like, you got to have both of those things. Because I guarantee you, whoever the player is, whether it's Devers, whether it's, I don't know who the player would be on the Red Sox.
Justin Turner's a big leader
Justin Turner,
there. Yep.
Right? I mean, whoever it is, they took him out. They took him